Hi guys, and welcome to this horoscope on the new moon in Capricorn that happens on the 13th of January 2021 at 5 in the morning based on UK time, and it happens at 5 on the dot, which I find oddly satisfying because this is a new moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is all about being good and following the rules and being dutiful, and if you're on the east coast of the States, then this happens at midnight exactly, which I find really satisfying because it's so aligned with that Capricorn energy that it shows up exactly on the dot of the new day. And the new moon in itself is about regeneration and growth and rebirth. It's when the moon kind of goes within and it's pitch black, it sits right on top of the sun, and it says, what seeds of intention am I going to plant for the future? How am I going to start? And it happens exactly at midnight, so it happens on the stroke of a new day coming in. So I think that's really positive. I'm going to give you a rundown of what is happening in this chart that you can see right next to me here, and I'm going to have a look at how this energy influences all of us down here on planet Earth. So this horoscope is for all signs of the zodiac, whether you're a Taurus or a Pisces or Aquarius or Libra. The energy is the same, so I'm looking at the energy of the new moon, how it kind of pulls things in to get started again. Obviously each different sign is going to take that energy up in a different way and is going to do something different with it. But this is kind of the fuel. This is the source energy that's going to impact all of us. And I think by understanding that, you'll be able to channel it into the things that you like and that you think are important in your experience here on planet Earth. So let's have a look. First thing, we've got the rising sign I want to talk about first. That's at 9 degrees in Sagittarius. And the rising sign is the sign of the zodiac that's just rising over the horizon in the east at the moment this new moon happens. And in a natal chart, in a birth chart, the rising sign or the ascendant, it kind of represents your default setting. If you're in a tough position and you have to really react quickly, you'll react the way your rising sign is. So Sagittarius is about optimism in the future and galloping ahead and saying, yes, I can, and this is exciting and fun, great. 9 degrees in numerology is about spirituality and completion. It's like the hermit in the tarot, and it's really a sense of wholeness within. So this is fab because Sagittarius does love to move ahead, and the best things in life is when you actually start a new journey or a new project or any new kind of venture feeling whole within yourself, then you're going to create wholeness for that entire process. And this new moon is all about rebirthing yourself and saying, okay, what am I going to work on in future? Because Capricorn does concern itself with the practical world, with career, with finance, with what you can work on to make changes. So that bodes really well. It also means that the entire chart is ruled by Jupiter, the lucky planet. So as far as rulers go, it could be worse. Jupiter is all about, here, let me give you opportunities and good fortune and good luck. Run with it, have fun. So that's really nice. The new moon in itself is at 23 degrees in Capricorn, the sun and the moon conjunct, so they sit together at the same degree. 2 and 3 is 5, and in numerology that's freedom. So you can work towards your own freedom, or you can work yourself out of a situation that makes you feel limited and trapped. I talked a lot about this energy in the weekly horoscope that I do a moment ago, because the new moon, it's not like at 5 in the morning on the 13th, it's like, oh, okay, I know what I want to do work-wise. It's a gradual shift, right? So the moon moves towards the sun, and most of us feel the energy a few days ahead of time, and then also a few days after, because it's still near the sun and it's moving on to its new journey again. So this is something that happens gradually. And the reason I talked about it is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are very much about looking at yourself and saying, what is real and where am I in my life versus what is this idealized notion of me that I need to get to be okay, and why does it cause me suffering? So you can really take stock of where you are in a really practical sense and say, hey, I don't need to be, you know, the emperor of China to have a happy life. I don't need to be the most gorgeous creature on the planet to have a good time. I can use all of the resources that I've got in my life already, and I can make a fabulous reality with that. And that is so nice. I love that so much because you're really accepting yourself where you are right now in your life. You're not putting all these expectations of yourself of, oh, you know, I need to be exceptional to have someone love me. All of these things that are unattainable and these beliefs that don't serve us, and which cause us pain because we kind of keep putting energy into them, and it's like, well, I can't be happy because I don't have a boyfriend, for instance. Well, who says? You can be happy on your own. So that's really good. It's like a time out reality check that says, hang on a minute, you're actually okay. You're okay. So relax, okay? Calm down. Stop putting all these huge expectations on yourself which are crushing you, and take a breath and actually look around and see what you can do now. And that's kind of perspective, and just that looking and that willingness to say, what can I work with and what can I do here to make my life amazing? It offers you real freedom from things which have tortured you in the past, which have made you unhappy. So I think it's a really nice time to accept that life isn't going to be what you wanted it to be, but that if you accept what is, it can become even better, because if you take stock and take charge of what you already have in your life and you work with that and you put effort into that instead of these horrible, impractical thoughts, then you can build something for yourself that genuinely does make you happy. So if you had a vision of yourself as a famous author, and now you're a mother of 5, it's no good lamenting the fact that you're not an author. I would say it's important to try and find joy in the motherhood, and to say, I've had the 5 children. I mean, I can't just, say, oh, change my mind. But it's through that acceptance, it's finding joy in that situation that you're in. It's through the acceptance that you can then write your book. You can't do it if you're like, oh, in another reality, I was Danielle Steele and everyone applauded when I walked into a room. That's not going to do it for you, because it puts that dream much further away than it needs to be. And it's only by embracing things that this new stuff can arise. So you can plant real seeds of intention, saying, I want to improve, or first of all, I want to accept and look around at my life and see what's going on. And then I want to plant these seeds and say, I vow to improve my relationships or my diet in January, and I'm going to focus on that. Those are concrete, real things that you can focus on. But what I think would be even more helpful is just to say, I'm going to make a vow to myself that I'm not going to split myself into different parts of things that I find acceptable and not acceptable, that I'm going to accept who I am right now, and that is real freedom. And I think that's the seed. If you plant that, that's going to grow into a plant that is just going to really enrich your life, because it's going to give you a sense of comfort. And I don't have to be wound tight like a top all the time, and I don't need to go. I can actually do something with where I am. So it's really an amazing time out that kind of really grounds you and gives you a reality check, and that empowers you and says you can do stuff with where you are. It's not hopeless. Pluto is next to it, 1 degree away. Pluto is the planet of transformation and change, death and rebirth. It's at 24 degrees in Capricorn, and that means that by being practical and being realistic about where you are, you can create opportunities for real, life-changing, everlasting change. You can really do things on Wednesday which are going to change everything forever. And it all starts here with your perspective, and not wishing but accepting. Saturn is in Aquarius. That's not really, well, it is kind of conjunct. It's 9 degrees away from Pluto, but it's in a different sign, and I use 10-degree orbs, so I would say it is kind of still conjunct, but it's borderline, okay? But it's in the same area of the chart, so I think it does influence the moon and the sun and Pluto a little bit. At 3 degrees in Aquarius, it's about finding ways of teaching yourself and being there for yourself and holding your hand and leading yourself through the whole process of what actually is. Rather than saying, why haven't you got £100,000 in your bank account? You failed. Aren't you useless? You know, that kind of really needling yourself, like, hey, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done this? That's out the window here during this new moon. And you actually become much more tolerant of yourself and say, okay, it's fine, calm down. Let's find a practical way to move forward and to make things better. Here you go. Spoonful of sugar, okay? Easy does it, calm down. So it's really like having, being your own parent, kind of strokes your hair and says, there, everything's going to be fine. So you can really calm yourself down, and you can really get to a place of effectivity, is that a word? Effectivity? Being effective, basically, because you're not torturing yourself and you're becoming your own best friend. You're unifying yourself and all the different aspects of you, and that actually gives you the fuel to move ahead rather than saying, you know. So it's much more empowering than anything, because that unification of self then immediately translates into what can I do about this on planet Earth. Jupiter isn't conjunct anymore because it's at 5 degrees in Aquarius, but it's conjunct to Saturn, and I'm being drawn to these planets. I want to talk about these. Jupiter is the lucky planet, and it's still conjunct with Saturn. Saturn and Jupiter meet once every 20 years. It's called the Great Conjunction, and in Aquarius it's really blowing things up in terms of the way we live our lives with other people, the way our society functions, the way we learn from things, hindsight, the way we teach other people. It's activism, it's looking at the greater good and being a humanitarian. And those two sitting together, 2 degrees apart no less, 1 and 2 being a relationship, they're really looking at the relationship of people on this planet, how they interact with one another, what is right and what isn't right. So those things give you a real focus and interest in what's going on in the world. So you may feel the need to watch the news and to comment on them. But what I really think is most important and effective with the moon being in Capricorn, which is about work, and doing stuff and seeing things clearly, is to focus on what you can do about your own life and what seeds you can plant for your future. I said this in the weekly horoscope as well. If you're like a world leader and you have a lot of practical power to affect change, then kind of concern yourself with what other people are doing, because you can then implement things, guidelines, laws, rules that are going to stop certain behaviors and that are going to make things better for everyone else. But if you're someone who doesn't have that power to influence other people's lives, then why talk a bunch of truth about it if no one's going to listen to it and no one's going to care anyway? Then look at your own truth and say, well, okay, what are we doing, teacher, self, help me? And then you can actually do something which is concrete and which is going to enrich your experience. So I think you should focus on that. Socially, we are in a time of change. So there are certain people who will be inspired to create legislature, which is going to be helpful to other people. So that's great for all of us. Mercury is next to Jupiter in Aquarius. So the thinking side of things is very permissive. Is it? No, it's not permissive as in anything goes. It's about the human family and what goes and what doesn't go and what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable. But it's the same thing, rather than dictating that for everyone else in the world, who really, a lot of people aren't going to care what you think or what you think the rules ought to be. Look at your own life and how you can implement rules which actually help you rather than harm you. Pallas Athena is at 11 degrees in Aquarius, and Pallas Athena is the warrior goddess. And at 11, she's at the vibration of service. 11 is the master number of service. And 11 in numerology is the same as Aquarius in astrology, as far as I'm concerned. It's about being of service to humanity. So there is real power to make things better for yourself and for other people. Use that wisely. And the question to ask yourself is this going to make a practical change? Does this have a real life effect? Or is it just bump? You know, am I just talking to make myself look good? That's not helpful. What is helpful is actually restructuring your life in a practical way. And things that have been really unacceptable in the past and hurtful and painful aren't going to be. You'll see them for what they are and you're like, okay, this is what it is. I'm going to work with what I've got. It's the ultimate down-to-earth kind of new moon. And some of us need a reality check at times to start again and to build good stuff. Because we can get overwhelmed with all the ideas and the thoughts and the kind of dream scenarios that we create for ourselves, that we forget about real life and that we can actually do things right there. So the new moon then forms certain relationships with other things in the chart. First of all, there is a semi-square. I just need to show you this because you'll understand why I'm squinting. My printer has run out of ink. So things that are usually red are now yellow. I've got the blues of the Trines, but the other things are a little bit hard to make out. I need to get some new ink for my printer. that's my practical resolution here during this new moon in Capricorn. So the semi-square creates friction between the new moon and the south node in Sagittarius at 18 degrees. 1 and 8 is 9, that's spirituality and completion again, and Sagittarius is about let's move forward. So there's an amazing sense of wholeness that I talked about with the rising sign, but the south node is kind of where you're coming from, okay? So you've done a lot of work, and you may do quite a bit of work in the days leading up to this new moon, saying, okay, I have taken stock of my life, I'm okay with what's going on, even though I don't like everything, I accept it, and that gives you the space, and it creates this vacuum almost, because you're sucking out all the bad stuff through the acceptance. It creates this huge space to actually move in different directions. And the sense of I trust myself is so strong that it's really important. And you see, this is contradictory, because I'm going to say it's important not to listen to anyone else. And with the Saturn Jupiter, if you're a world leader, I said earlier that you can make rules which are going to affect everybody. So everyone's going to be certain of themselves. Certain people are going to make rules for their own lives that make them better. Certain leaders are going to make rules for everybody. But because everyone knows so much and is so certain of themselves, that's going to create conflict. And it's going to create friction. You don't tell me what to do. I am the boss of my destiny. Thank you very much. So save your breath, I would say, unless you are in a genuine power position, and do something with your own life and really listen to yourself and say, I am the authority figure when it comes to my life. I've been in this body for a while now. I think I know it best. Thank you very much, doctor. Okay. All right. Don't know where the doctor thing came from. Anyway. All right. So we've got the semi-square. Then we've got, and I want to mention this, we've got a square between Pluto, no, another semi-square, excuse me, another semi-square between Pluto and the south node. So it's that sense of certainty that's going to change everything. It's not about getting things which will help you, it's about realizing the self and expanding it into the real world and saying, I'm taking charge of this, I'm doing this because I want to. That's what's going to affect change. Then we've got trines between Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury and Pallas Athena, and the midheaven in Libra at 8 degrees. The midheaven in your birth chart usually indicates what you're good at work-wise and what your vocational aptitudes are. Libra is about creating beauty in the world, it's about being creative, it's working with other people, and it's also jobs that are about creating balance. So it's like diplomats and arbitrators and judges. The beauty creative side of things is, you know, cosmetics and floristry and graphic design, that kind of stuff. It's at 8 degrees, so you're super strong in that ability, excuse me, to balance things out between what's going on within and other people, and that's a mixed blessing because it takes the focus away from you again. It's like, I know what they need to fix their lives, I'm going to instruct them. And because everyone knows best, they're not going to want to hear it. So again, that makes me say, save your breath and focus on what you want to do. You can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. You can't. The new moon forms very few other things actually. It forms this semi-square with the south node, but then the rest of the aspects are via Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter, and I do feel like those are important, even though Jupiter and Mercury and Pallas Athena aren't really conjunct with the new moon. Saturn is. They square Black Moon, Lilith, Uranus and Mars in Taurus on the other side of the chart, and that's really miraculous opportunities that you could never see coming. The strong relationship with yourself empowers you hugely and allows you to take control of things which have been out of control in the past. So that really gives you the ability to sort yourself out when it comes to any addictions you may have, or things in your life that where you feel powerless. You'll suddenly have an inkling of how to deal with certain things. You can really get things in order. Black Moon Lilith at 9 degrees in Taurus kind of tries to take you away from being practical by saying, dream more, think more, do more research. You don't quite know what you're doing yet. Go back to bed and think it over. Don't do that, because you do have this sense of wholeness through the rising and the south node. You've thought enough. You have prepared for this new moon energetically, and it's all systems go, and it's really time to move forward with it. No more contemplation, really. It's a waste of your time. You'll get insights that you've already had. It's time to do things with the stuff that you already know. Then we've got sextiles between those outer planets and Chiron at 5 degrees in Aries, and it's through taking action that you're able to heal your life. It's doing something that's going to make things better. Thinking about things isn't going to make them better. Action will. There is another semi-square between the outer planets and Ceres and Neptune in Pisces. Neptune at 18 degrees in Pisces is the ability to manifest whatever it is you want. So if you think it, you can do it. That really adds to your practicality and that you have this faith in yourself. That's amazing. And then Ceres in Pisces at 15 degrees gives you this overflowing cup of self-belief that really says, do you know what, if you take a chance, if you risk it, if you really do something, rather than just talking about it or thinking about it, you're going to have a potential outcome that is so amazing and wonderful that you could never even see it coming. And it could lead to such great things that you weren't even aware of, that could stem from this action that you take. So those two are kind of influencing this whole situation by making it spiritual and by adding this miraculous quality that can really transform things which are practical into something that is still practical but feels magical because it's just beyond your wildest dreams. So do you see the difference between idealizing a certain life that you don't have and accepting a life that you don't particularly enjoy all aspects of? It's by doing the latter that you create a space for miracles and ideals and wonderful things to come in. It's letting something grow rather than grabbing it from somewhere else. And that's what this is about. You have the strength to grow things from within and to make an amazing contribution. We also have Pallas Athena forming a trine with the North Node in Gemini at 18 degrees. And that's interesting because that's where you're going. 18 again is 9. We've got loads of 9s here. So on a spiritual level, your higher self, the universe, your guides, your angels, they're really heavy-handed today. They're really guiding you. And it's interesting that I talked about that teacher earlier because it's your higher self which is really saying, there, let's go. Calm down, let's just do it. And the North Node in Gemini is a doorway. If you look at the glyph of Gemini, it's a Roman numeral 2. It creates a doorway. And by having this calm and contented faith in yourself that everything's going all right and that if you do the things that you care about, things will be amazing, that's what opens doors. So have faith to achieve. And whether that's faith in yourself or faith that life is good or that good things will happen or that certain risks, certain actions do lead to amazing outcomes. And I mean, there's no denying that. People on planet Earth have done things which are incredible. So, I mean, the most obvious thing I can think of is, I don't know, building a cathedral. Who would have thought? Or a man on the moon. Who would have thought, right? The scientists who started with that, I'm sure they didn't think I'm going to be the person who creates the technology to put people on the moon. It was something that grew out of the work they were already doing. It may seem like a hair-splitting difference, but it really isn't. It's about being consistent in your actions. So that's the North Node, and I've looked at Uranus, I've looked at Neptune, I've looked at all those things together. Venus, the planet of love and beauty, that doesn't form a connection with the new moon in Capricorn, but Venus is in Capricorn too. It's in the same sign at 5 degrees. So by being practical and by taking these steps in your real life, you really create the potential for freedom and for you to create the kind of circumstances which you love and adore and which make you happy in life. And that is it. You know, the only other thing I want to mention is that most of the action here in this chart, and I don't really go into the houses when I look at these kind of new moon and full moon horoscopes, because they're going to be in different houses in your chart. So if I do a reading for you, what I do is I take your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. That helps me draw up a chart like the one I've got next to me right here. And to see what's coming up for you, I put the transits around the natal chart and I see how they move around your different houses. But depending on when you were born and what your chart looks like, for some people this is going to happen in the 1st house, for others in the 8th house, for others in the 10th house. So that's why I don't really include these in these horoscopes for all signs. But I do notice here that everything is happening on the bottom half of the chart, and I think that's significant for all of us, because the lower half of the charts, quadrants 1 and 2, so houses 1 through 6, are all about the self, and then the self in connection with other people. So you really gain mastery of yourself, and that's going to lead to new connections with circumstances, people, places, things in your life, and it all comes from your inner certainty. So I'm not going to repeat the things about saving your breath and focusing on yourself, although I just did. But really do that, because you're able to get a handle of yourself, even if you're difficult to deal with, or you find yourself a bit of a challenge at the best of times. You'll be able to get a handle on what's going on. You'll be able to accept it, and that leads to new opportunities and a really, and I know it sounds big and maybe a little bit over dramatic, but it can lead to a whole new life. You can change your dynamic around completely and leave things behind that have kept you small for decades. I'm a Virgo sun sign, so my whole thing about life has always been, I'm going to try and understand. If I learn enough, if I read enough books, then I'll understand it, and once I understand it, I'll have the power to do something about it. And that's not been my experience. I can learn about lots and lots of different things, but often I need help and I need power from something bigger, my higher self, the universe, to combine that understanding. Okay, I've now read the book, I understand that I have this issue. I can't do anything about it though. So I need support in showing me how to get out of the issue despite myself. Because you can't resolve a problem at the level it was created. So if you're genuinely unhappy, and you always have been, then how are you going to create happiness from a place that is constantly pouring out unhappiness? You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope you do. I think I do. So that's what I get for you during this new moon in Capricorn on the 13th. I hope you have a fabulous time here, and I really think, I really hope that you feel this inner sense of the penny has dropped. I'm okay. Let's go. Because that is the best thing that can happen. It's so empowering, and it will change your whole life. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on Book Your Reading to order your reading with me. If you like this video, then please hit the like button, click subscribe, and share the video online. Also, if you are interested in the horoscopes for your sun sign, so if you're an Aries or Taurus, then I've made those horoscopes. Check those out. It's for each sun sign first. Then if you want more information, watch it for your rising sign second and for your moon sign third. For each sign of the zodiac, I just give you a rundown of what the outer planets are doing and how they're going to influence you this year. Is there anything else? No, not really. I hope you have a wonderful time here. Do get in touch, and I'll speak to you soon.